The following is a presentation of Hobson Media. Woohoo!
This is Church Pew Sports, where we connect sports to life and faith.
Could you repeat that first part?
Take a knee.
This is fairy tale stuff. It's as good as it gets.
Lend an ear.
Absolutely glorious.
Hit that subscribe button.
The harder you push, the faster we will all get out of here.
Then get ready to laugh, listen, and learn.
Gentlemen, start your engines, brothers.
No matter your team,
How about you announce that you're getting better?
your favorite sport,
We got weights and fit. There we go.
we cover it all here on Church Pew Sports.
When something like this happens, I believe it's going to be for the best.
You just blew my mind.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome in to Church Pew Sports, where we connect sports to life and faith. And tonight we are recording just a few minutes after the conclusion of really an epic NFL playoff weekend, capped off by one of those games that even for myself, without really a serious rooting interest for either team, it was edge of your seat drama as the Rams beat the Bears in overtime. So let's get things rolling. Bill Hobson here. Pastor Paul Miller, a Bears fan, is with us as well. And Pastor Josh Pardee. It's been a while since we've had him with us on the program. And he's not here just to gloat, I'm pretty sure. I think he's here to add to the overall discussion. But Paul, first of all, let me set the scene a little bit, because the Bears season was over. It was 4th and 4. They were down to their last play with 27 seconds to go. Ball is on the Rams' 14-yard line. Get the first down, you've got time to do some other things. And instead, here's what they did.
Command in motion. Williams drifting, sprinting for space, in all kinds of trouble, put it up for grabs in the end zone. Connect! He got it! For the touchdown! They've done it again!
I have no idea how that happened. We all watched the play unfold. It's defensive secondary malpractice. But at that moment, Paul, what was going through your mind?
I was waiting for the flag for offensive pass interference, because how in the world did he get behind that guy?
Yeah, sorry
Right.
about that. Yeah.
How in the world did he get behind that guy? And that's just been the Bears season, right? Like, as a Bears fan, we're playing with house money. I don't think we're as good as our record indicated, and a lot of things fell. Obviously, what did they say? 7 wins after trailing in the final 2 minutes or something like that. That's a little crazy. So I went into overtime thinking, man, this is unbelievable. If they pull it off again, they're not going to beat Seattle, but oh my word, that would have been crazy. Didn't happen. I'm still coming down off of watching the game. So if my thoughts are not completely coherent in this conversation, you just have to bear with me. So,
Well, there are a lot of Bears fans who are still trying to wrap their heads around what took place.
Yeah.
And Josh and I were texting quite a bit because both teams could make a pretty good argument for deserving to win the game or deserving to lose the game, I guess, depending on how you see it play off. But Josh, after that ridiculous play by Caleb Williams, where you all can't tell in the audio, but if you weren't watching the game, the play started on the 14-yard line. He dropped back to the 40 and just heaved it off his back foot. And for the second week in a row, one of his back foot impossible heaves ends up somehow being caught. I don't know, Josh, I thought that was going to be the thing that did it for him.
I did too. I was texting a different buddy, big Bears fan, and even when the Bears first got the ball, I was like, do you go for 2 if you score a touchdown? And we've been having this whole conversation all weekend of, if you get to overtime, should you take the ball? Should you not? Because everyone always wants to wait and kick the ball, but then we have another buddy who joins the chat who's done all of his own research, who comes with, actually, the teams win more often when you get that third possession, which is exactly what happened tonight in the game. So it was just fascinating. And, he went with conventional wisdom of no, you're at home. You don't go for two. You do that on the road. But I was just sitting there thinking like, but these defenses have been so stout. Like, I don't know. There was a part of me that, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered as a Lions fan because Dan Campbell would have gone for two no matter what. We could have been at our own 2 yard line and he would have decided to go for two. But yeah, I don't know. That was that play was wild. I mean, Caleb, kudos to him. He's made 2 weeks in a row just unbelievable plays. I have no idea how he got that open, really what that defender was doing. I That was wild to me, but whatever.
Yeah, I wish they had gone for two. I mean, and that's not just hindsight speaking. Like I was thinking, Loveland's out, Luther Burden's on the sidelines, go for two and win the game right now.
Yeah.
Well, so Paul, in reality, the Bears overachieved.
Yes.
According to all projections, right? So it's a tough loss, and in the group chat that we have called Bear Down, everybody's now coming around to, hey, we were playing with house money. I can't wait till next year. So you move on pretty quickly and all of that. Bills fans, we saw Josh Allen post game literally crying. I mean, I really do like it when it means something to an athlete. I really do. I don't want them to just brush their, wipe it off their hands and just walk out of the room and go, oh, that's too bad, because we want them to feel. But I felt really bad for Josh. I mean, he's crying because he says, I let my teammates down. And then one of them I saw in another clip, he was crying because of how, I don't know, how much he loves Josh, that kind of thing. Which loss do you think sticks with the team longer, the Bills or the Bears?
Oh, definitely the Bills. I think the Bears kind of had this we're playing with house money attitude going into it. It's just been crazy. That's what the headlines will be tomorrow. The Bills for sure. The Bills for sure. I have some friends, I have some family that are Bills fans. They're not even talking about it yet. And here I am talking on a podcast right after the Bears lost. So
I mean, you can tell me if this resonates, Paul, but it would seem to me, not being a fan of either of those, but like if you're the Bears, you feel like you're a year or two ahead of schedule, right? So like you're still peaking, you're on the upward tick, right? But man, if you're a Bills fan, this has been like 6 years where you think you're about to get there, and every year just you lose in heartbreaking fashion in overtime or to Mahomes or crazy catches that are called for the Chiefs that then aren't for you. It's just like it feels like everything keeps stacking up against you. And so then you do wonder, Dan Campbell has this line of when we lost in the NFC Championship to the 49ers of like, what if that was our only shot? I hope it wasn't. And I think if you're a Bills fan, I wonder if you're kind of in that mental space of like, how many more cracks at this do we get with Josh Allen, sort of a thing?
yeah, my son was texting me about there's already conversation like amongst the Bills Mafia, right, about the changes that need to come next year because this ain't working.
They need
what
a defense.
Isn't working. Well, yeah, they need a defense, and it used to be I'll blame it on Pat Mahomes, and Mahomes wasn't the thing this year, and they still came up short. So,
Well, okay, so in that Bears game, Paul, this will feed into the theme of where we're heading tonight. In that Bears game, if you could roll back one play, take it all, redo it, is there a play that you wish they had redone? Would it be going for two after the touchdown, or I mean, obviously you would prefer they didn't throw the pick on a ball that you didn't really need to throw it downfield, but don't let me answer the question for you. You answer it.
yeah, I think I would say keep dinking and dunking and be content to kick a 45-yard field goal to win the game in overtime. That would probably be the thing. But we're all armchair quarterbacks or armchair head coaches with 2020 hindsight, right? So I get it. I mean, I don't know. I thought they played well enough to have a chance to win and poor enough to not win. So
yeah, that's fair.
It is what it is.
So I'm in Florida. I'm over near Lakeland, Florida, Orlando. But for the last day and a half, I've been on the other side of the state, a little bit north of Daytona, playing in a golf tournament with a bunch of golf media people, including one very big Bills fan. And last night, that game was concluding as we were all gathering for a dinner. And I had it on my phone. I think 3 or 4 people had the game going on their phone because this was overtime as we're all supposed to be gathering in this little conference room for dinner. And as those calls unfolded, this guy he was venting. I really don't know him, but he had Bill's gear on. And then we all got to know him rather quickly because he was not shy about his opinions about what was happening with the officiating. And when it was done, and he was kind of ranting to himself because there weren't a lot of people commiserating with him other than to say, yeah, you're right, it looked pretty bad. I just kind of went over to him and I said, you're always welcome in Lions country, my friend, because we've been dealing with that kind of garbage for much, much longer. Josh, Bills fans and the sympathy meter, you're a pastor, you have to extend empathy, compassion. What do you want Bills fans to hear from you, a Lions fan, after last night?
I think empathy is really powerful tool. So I think it would be listen, I totally understand. I think I've treaded further down this path than you have, but I can walk with you down it. So pull up a cup of tea, sit down, tell me about it. Let's go.
And we have some Bills fans in our Church Pew Sports family as well. Can you extend that listening ear without also smirking and smiling at the same time while they're telling you you've never seen anything like this before? And then we're, as Lions fans, we're like, take a knee, young man.
I do say regularly, I have for several years, I would really love to see a Lions Bills Super Bowl. So one of us gets over the hump, sort of a thing.
Yeah, we'll take
Isn't it the kind of thing where you can't start the conversation? You have to wait for the Bills. You have to wait for the Bills fan to say, okay, I'm ready to talk about it. Because if you ask them, they just get ticked.
Yeah,
that's
you probably have to
kind of how that works.
Schedule a 2-hour block in your day for that. Well, okay, so all this leads us into our primary conversation, and it's kind of a fun one. We've been texting a little bit the last couple of weeks about those moments in our personal fandom that if we could just find a way, like remember in the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeves, when Lois Lane gets buried under a pile of rubble or something, he's just devastated and distraught. He flies super fast around the earth and actually just takes time away and goes back in time, and then he goes and saves her. If we could do something like that in the sports realm, what is the one play or the one call or the one moment that if you could go back and just change it all, you would do that, however many years ago it was? And I was kind of thinking through my personal list. I can remember back very, very vividly to 1987. Yes, for those of you who are not very old, Josh, 1987. I had just graduated high school in 86. I was a huge Pistons fan, and at the time I was covering the Pistons as a radio intern. And so I was fairly well acquainted with everybody on the Bad Boys. And in this particular case, they were striving to overcome the dastardly Celtics back when the fix was in. And you would go to Boston Garden and Parrish would be allowed to assault Lambeer, and they would call a regular foul and nothing other than that. And the Pistons had finally gotten their act together, and they were going to beat the Celtics until this play that I would like to forever redo.
It's 107-106, but there are 17 seconds left, and Boston will get another crack at it.
The Celtics had a final chance to pull out the win, and all eyes were focused on one man. Larry Bird, basketball's undisputed miracle worker.
All right, Bird is putting the ball on the play, and Dumars comes over to get right on DJ, and DJ gets the pass anyway. All right, 14 seconds left. On the left it goes to Bird. Bird guarded by Mahorn. Drives around him. Goes on in. And the ball gets knocked out of bounds by no, they call it the other way. And now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right at 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the inbounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left. Oh my, this place has gone crazy.
Yeah. So Pistons get a call on a out of bounds play. By the way, no replay back in the day. So you'll notice the whole sequence took 4 seconds. Ball out of bounds, Pistons ball, and Isaiah trying to hurry things and catch the Celtics off guard throws. Josh, you played college basketball. On an inbound play, where do you never throw the ball?
Into the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, or under the opponent's basket.
Yeah, that
And
too.
in this case, it was a combination of the two, and Bird stole the ball over to DJ, lays it in, and Johnny Most, who makes that call, is on his 7th pack of Marlboros on the day, and the Pistons go down. My buddy Joe and I, uh, we were both watching it from our respective homes. We're on the phone watching it. We were just crushed. We lived about 15 minutes apart, and I went and picked him up, and we just drove around until like 3 in the morning, just inconsolable because it just was so you have no idea how high my dislike is for the Boston Celtics. And I know that Pastor Nate Murray is taking great joy in this, but that's my first moment of a play that I would like to have rolled back. It scarred me as a young person. And look what it did to my ability to just have any understanding of Celtics goodness. I have no use for them whatsoever. So that's mine. All right, Josh, where are you going on your first redo moment?
Yeah, mine is very easy. Just real quick about the Celtics thing. I still reference that with my kids, though it did happen before I was alive. Anytime they make a bad pass when we're playing out in the driveway,
Yeah.
I yell at them. I mean, yell like playfully,
Yeah.
it's context, but I will playfully kind of yell at them, "Steal by Bird." Like that was a terrible pass by you. Yeah, and there's a little taunting. You gotta teach
Yeah.
them to be able to endure that.
Have they
So
watched the play? Have you made them watch
I
the
think
play?
so. I mean, clearly we're gonna have to do that tomorrow when they wake
Yeah.
up. So
Before school. Oh, there's no school, so you're good to go. Yeah,
yeah, we're
perfect.
good. We're good. My play is 2016.
Mm.
Michigan is playing Ohio State. This moment is known as in Michigan land is known as JT was short.
Yes,
It's
hold on for a moment, and I think we're going to give that to you.
Okay.
Here we go.
Was JT short on 4th and 1?
Of course. Yeah, he was definitely short.
Even looking back?
Yeah, even looking back, I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like talk about like quote unquote conspiracy theories that doesn't matter what the evidence says. He was short. He'll always be short.
Was JT short?
And by the
on
way,
4th and 1?
that,
Of course.
That comment comes from a Buckeye player. Okay, sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Yeah, and there's dispute of whether he's short or not, but it's like if I get one moment to like overturn, I do think if he is short or if he's marked short or whatever, it would be interesting to see the trajectory of what happens with Harbaugh, Michigan, et cetera, because we're entering in with all of that momentum and anticipation. And the first like year or two, I think was it his second year, maybe. Maybe it was his third, but it was like we knew we were building. We knew the first year or two was just like we're not going to be able to compete with those boys. And then it was like we had hopes, like this is a top 5 matchup or whatever. And it's like I wonder what happens to the trajectory from that moment to both programs. I think potentially it's a fork in the road. And the story obviously is he is Mark Short, and then we go through. We actually head down before we come back up. And Ohio State just remains this machine for years. So if there's like one play that I could overturn that I think would be interesting to watch, like the sequence that unfolds, that would be my top choice.
I texted my son Bo this evening and told him what we would be talking about, and I asked him what his list looked like, and his first one was JT was short, and that was in his high school senior year. So that's one of his indelible moments that he's remembering.
Yeah, I'll give you the context of where I was because it's games always Thanksgiving weekend. I'm in Wisconsin at my brother's house, and like my whole family is there. We're over hanging out in La Crosse, crammed into this tiny like little living room with a bazillion of us watching this game, thinking we're gonna win. And then that happens, and then I have to drive 4 hours home the rest of the afternoon in like the cold, gray, snowy day. So it was not a fun ride home. I'm like, this is the worst.
Oh man, they just linger. Those moments linger. Paul, what's your first one?
Yeah, I'm just not even going to comment on the JT was short thing.
You can't sit here and tell us that you think he got the first down.
Listen, I didn't bring up whether he was or not, because I think that's a whole different conversation.
That is a different conversation.
The question was if I could change a moment. Like, we don't doubt that Bird stole the ball. It's like, are we changing the moment, sort of a thing?
Yeah, that's actually really valid, because it was like, what, 4th and 1, right? And the game would have been
over.
Yeah, it would have been over, and then they scored on if I remember right, Ohio State scored on the next play. And
you remember right? Yes, you remember exactly.
Yeah,
right.
that was okay. So I'm not. Yeah, whatever.
Wait, was that supposed to help us feel better?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
The premise, like Josh said, the premise here is if there's something you could change. I looked long and hard, Bill. I was looking for a call that went against Michael Jordan when he was playing the Pistons. I couldn't find one ever.
Well, your research team is doing a crack job. It's fantastic.
So I didn't have anything for the Bulls. I didn't have anything even for the Bears, to be honest. Here's what I do have. The Ohio State Clemson game in 2019, when they were both undefeated. I think they were ranked 2 and 3, and the winner was going to play LSU. And I was really looking forward to Ohio State going against Joe Burrow. I thought that would have been really, really fun to see in the Natty. And the Buckeyes were up 16-0. And there was a questionable targeting call, which I'm not going to argue that it wasn't targeting, because for the same premise of whether or not JT was short, it doesn't matter. There was the targeting call that changed all the momentum of the game. Clemson comes back after that call, and they take the lead late, and then the Ohio State scoop and score the call got overturned. That was just crazy. I think you've got the actual call from it, yeah?
Yeah, let's go to the scoop and score, and we'll let everybody decide from an audio standpoint. This is wild.
Hoping to make his first impact play, knocking down the quarterback in that three-point stance on 3rd and 19. Lawrence. Young was getting close, and the pass is complete and fumbled. And the Buckeyes pick it up. And barreling into the end zone is Jordan Fuller. They called it a catch and a fumble and a scoop and score. That'll be reviewed, but a potential game-changing play for the Scarlet and Gray.
The one question is, was he bobbling the ball is the one question. That's what they're going to probably take a peek at. Was he bobbling this football, or did he have possession? Okudah, tight coverage.
Ooh, I don't know.
Boy, he's holding on to that football. He has possession of that ball. That's a catch.
On the field with a catch, a fumble and return for a touchdown. The previous play is under review.
I think he had it long enough. I agree. And Okudah getting that long arm out there. That's why he's frustrated. He didn't win the Thorpe Award.
Here we go.
Skip
ahead to the
indisputable video evidence has to reverse it.
What a massive review for this SEC crew. Gerald Hodges and the three folks.
By the way, before I resume this, they've been in review now for over 4 minutes as I fast forward.
In the replay center.
After further review, the pass is ruled as incomplete. Therefore, it will be 4th 19 at the 20-yard line.
They agree with you, and a massive overturn here.
Bill, good call there. I thought, you look at it again in real speed.
Too good. So there you go. And I think in recorded history, those are the only 2 calls to go against the Buckeyes, right? The targeting and then the scoop and score.
Yeah, I think so, man. They never run afoul of the officials.
Hey, David Collins, go ahead.
That one was brutal. I mean, that was
a terrible call.
That was a terrible call, and especially the fact that it got overturned. Again, you go back to JT, like that's not like a overturn. You know what I mean? Like it was called that on the field, and to overturn it was terrible.
And somebody can remind me, was there replay in the 2016 JT was short game? I really don't know. Did they review things then?
Yeah, they reviewed it. They were reviewing it.
All right, can't remember that. Hey, David Collins has popped in with us. Thanks, D. Good to see you. The words of consolation you'd like to offer to Paul Miller just moments after what happened tonight?
Yeah, Paul, I mean, you can't ask for a more magical season than the one the Bears just gave you. I mean, it was it was every single game. If Caleb Williams had the ball late in the game, you just expected them. He's played in 2 playoff games and made 2 of the most amazing throws I've ever seen. The 4th down one last week where he hit Adunze. Like literally, like all of my friends, family, like we generally kind of root against the Bears because we're Lions fans, but everyone was on board for this. Like it was magical to watch. And like I'm sorry that it ended the way that it did, but the fact that it even got to where it did was incredible. Caleb Williams, he's my buddy. I texted my buddy because he said, I've never seen Stafford play this bad. What's Caleb Williams doing? And I texted him, I said, these 2 are 4th quarter savants. This is who these guys are. Just let them cook in the 4th quarter. And what happened? Stafford drives down the field, scores. Caleb Williams makes one of the most 51.5 air yards off his back foot with 3 rushers in his face and somehow finds Kmet in the back of the end zone. I mean, I want to offer condolence, but at the same time, like this has to be one of the most fun seasons that you've gotten to experience. Like it was just pure magic all year long.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. But we were talking about that before you jumped on, and they were playing the Bears were playing with house money.
Yep.
It was a super fun year.
You can't keep getting down. You can't keep getting down late and expect to keep winning. Like 1-score wins in the NFL are not something that is sustainable. Usually the team that has the most one season, the next year, water finds its level and they go, 4-4 in those games rather than whatever the Bears were. But I'm telling you, this last half of the season, it's just every game. It's never quite over. And to know that you have a team and a quarterback that has proven that that's part of their mettle, you've got to be excited going forward. Now, the difficulty going forward is you have to play a first division winning schedule next year, whereas like the Lions now will get a 4th place schedule. So that's where a lot of the things in the NFL legislate themselves towards equality. But I mean, it was just every game was just cardiac arrest. It was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I'm talking in this podcast is helping me get over it.
Shout out again to my cousin Carly Collins. She joins the Bears as a nutritionist this year, and
that's right,
most magical season that you can imagine. So that's pretty awesome.
So is she part of the key ingredient to like half the team not being injured? And if so, what would it take for Detroit to hire her away?
I mean, I don't know. I'll try to put in a good word this off season, but we'll see what happens. But I mean, it had to be amazing for her down on the sidelines of all of those games.
Yeah,
I was gonna tell you guys, if the Bears had won, I was gonna come on and tell you guys that I was gonna get my nails painted for the NFC Championship. So, on one hand, I'm actually okay with them not winning. So there you go.
By the way, it just occurred to me, David, I'm not sure that you've ever met Pastor Josh Pardee. So that's him. He's the senior pastor from Hopevale Church and a huge Michigan fan, huge Lions fan. And David, of course, shares those things as well. And we are kind of getting into the conversation of what's the play or the call or the outcome of a game or a moment that you would completely redo if you could set time back, if you could fly like Superman and reverse around the earth and roll back the clock. David, what comes to mind if you think about a moment you wish would just be overturned and changed?
Other than JT was short, because we've already talked about.
We've covered JT.
No, I wasn't going to go that. I mostly sent that to the group chat just because you said I can't find a time Ohio State was screwed by the refs against Michigan. So honestly, the one specific thing that comes to mind is Game 5 of the 2005 NBA Finals. Rasheed Wallace chose to leave Robert Horry and double in the corner, and Robert Horry hit the game-winning shot. Pistons end up winning in Game 6 to make it 3-3. They lose in Game 7. Had they finished that game out in San Antonio, I truly believe that Pistons are back-to-back NBA champions. That's the one that's like a literal championship-defining thing that I could think of. And it wasn't a call like by a ref. It was a call by Rasheed Wallace to leave Robert Horry to go double in the corner. And that one will always break my heart because that team was one of the most fun teams I've ever had a chance to root for.
And here's what that moment sounded like, and then we'll let Josh chime in because that was on his list as well. And this was incredible. And like David said, this never should have happened.
His lead, the key three-point shooters unattended. By that we mean Bowen in the corner or Ori out on the top. Now they have Prince on Ginobili, under on Parker. Here's Ginobili. Oh, they to Ori for three. Oh, unbelievable. This guy is off the charts. They put the ball right into the corner, and then as they track down, they go away from Robert Ori. You know that the most dangerous guy is the guy out of bounds. You stay with the three-point shooter, especially a three-point shooter of Robert Ori's magnitude.
Especially with a three-point shooter of Robert Ory's magnitude. That play was in 2005. It took place in overtime, 95-93 Pistons with 9 seconds to go. And as you heard Hubie Brown say, you cannot leave Robert Ory alone. And as David has pointed out, and Josh, you can jump in, they left him alone.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, that would be on my list too, David. And I remember sitting with my dad watching that game during the timeout. We're like, do not let Robert Ory touch the ball. Do not let Robert Ory touch the ball. And then Rasheed leaves them and we're just like, unbelievable. What are you doing? Like, oh,
that was like, it was weird because even though we won game 5 and then went back to San Antonio for game 7, like that in the moment in a game 5 felt like the end of the series, even though it wasn't. And had we won that, like we smoked them in game 6, like it was a championship that we deserved. And it was a brain fart in the moment by Sheed, and he was unbelievable for us. And I have nothing but love for Sheed, but to bail on the inbound shooter to the corner, that that's exactly at the moment how Pop drew it up and we fell for it. And big shot Bob, who's made however many of the biggest shots we know, you just can't leave him open in that spot. Maybe he hits it anyway, maybe someone else does, but that one's a shining example of like one thing I wish I could take back.
How many rings does Robert Ory have?
7.
7 rings, largely because of spot up threes.
And the interesting thing with the Ory having 7 rings is he was once asked, would you rather have your career and win 7 rings or have Charles Barkley's career and be a Hall of Famer but have no rings? And he immediately said, I'd rather have Charles's career.
Really?
Yep.
That's fascinating.
That's wild. Paul, what else do you have on your list?
I don't, but I have a question for Detroit sports fans.
Oh boy. Okay.
That I wanted to ask. So I was on the phone with my son Jared yesterday, and he called me because he was listening to a Chicago sports podcast, and they were arguing about which was bigger for the city of Chicago. The Bears, 85 Bears winning the Super Bowl, or the Bulls' run of championships with Michael, or the Cubs in whatever it was, 2016.
Yeah.
And the guys on the podcast were arguing about which one of those was most significant for the city, right? And so he asked me for my opinion, and of course I told him the Cubs because that was my personal would have been the Bears, but I feel like that was the most significant thing was the Cubs. So my question is, for Detroit, what would be the most significant thing that could happen for the city of Detroit? The Lions actually winning a Super Bowl, the Pistons winning another set of NBA championships, or the Tigers getting another World Series?
I think it's Lions, hands down.
100%. It's not even close. It's not close.
We got to see the city or the state react when the Tigers won in '84, and it was it was huge. It was a big deal. They were the Bless You Boys, Tigers, and some police cars got incinerated, so you knew it was a big deal. I can't even imagine what it would be like if Dan Campbell was able to get on the parade float down Woodward and lead this team in the celebration parade in -6 degrees February weather. If they did it, because that's the one thing. There were other people alive who saw the '68 Tigers win. There have been people who have watched the Pistons win, and they've watched the Wings and the Cups, and nobody alive's ever seen the Lions win a Super Bowl.
Well, and on top of that, like if you're a Detroit fan, Michigan basketball won in '89, and they've been really relevant in the tournament. Michigan football won a couple of years ago. They won in '97. We've seen all of it. The one I have not personally seen a Tigers World Series because I was born in '84, So that's number 2 to me would be a Tigers World Series. But as far as like for the city, for like the major fans that are Detroit sports fans, the Lions have been the worst organization in the history of professional sports for most of my lifetime, for most of the existence since the Super Bowl era. To see them get over the hump and win a Super Bowl would be, I can't even, I'm going to say this, and it's a negative word, but I'm saying it somehow positively, catastrophic. It would be just an asteroid hitting the earth of just excitement, like in such a good way.
The Lions have 3 playoff wins in my entire life, and 2 of them were in 2023.
Yep.
The other one was in 1991 when I was 3. So
Yeah, but look at how many rule changes the Lions' pain has led to in the league. So we've got that going for us.
That's true.
I legitimately cried when we beat the Rams to get our first playoff win that I've had a chance to see in my lifetime. Like there's something with this. When I watched Michigan win the national championship, it was happy, really like joy, all this. When I saw the Lions win, I didn't even jump around and cheer and hug I just like silently wept tears. Like it's been that emotional being a fan of this team.
Yeah, Paul. So Paul, you said for you in Chicago context, your number 1 was the 86 Bears. Is that kind of your highlight?
That would be me, but I do think that for the city, the Cubs winning the World Series was a bigger deal.
Yeah, it was absolutely massive.
100 whatever years or whatever, so.
I've got another one of my changing sports history moments, but I'm going to defer until Josh gives us his next one. I think we might share this one, so I'll see where you're going with yours.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few. I mean I'll go. My next one actually would be, I'll stick with Michigan football. My next one would be 2017 when we knock JT Barrett out of the game in the 3rd quarter and we're winning, and Haskins comes in and throws a easy pick 6 to Josh Metellus. He's clearly going to take this to the house. I mean, it just throws it right to him and probably ends the game. And instead, we don't. And then you guys, I don't even remember how you guys, Ohio State goes down and scores, and we end up losing that game again. Like it was one of those games where it felt like, okay, we lost heartbreakingly at the end of last year. It felt like we were out coaching that year, and then our player just dropped the key moment. Like it was the easiest interception ever. So that's where I go next.
Yeah,
again, because I'm fascinated by the idea too of like, Harbaugh goes through this whole thing of like, should we fire him? Should we not? Urban Meyer still loves to talk about how he never lost to Michigan. Like it just the fork in the road that would have happened there would just be interesting to me to see how it all played out from there. So
yeah, absolutely. And this is I'm gonna stay in the Michigan ecosystem for the next one. And David, I know this is somewhere on your list. I don't know how high it is, but I'm going to play the soundbite and then we'll talk about it. This is kind of epic stuff. What year are we in here? We are in I can't even remember. Well, 12 years back. Here we go.
And up ahead it's Siva. Burke to defend. Oh, they call a foul. And Burke can't believe it.
Oh, boy. It wasn't a foul on the ball. It had to be with the body. Let's take another look. You can see Burke sizing him up. For everything else.
So this is Michigan against Louisville, national championship game. Peyton Siva is the player for Louisville who's got a breakaway, and Michigan's Trey Burke, in a game-deciding moment, absolutely pins it on the glass, gets called for the foul, and all of us who have some maize and blue in our blood know, you don't have to even conjecture about it. It cost Michigan a national title, that horrendous call. And again, you're not challenging anything then. Josh, how high up was that on your list? Was that like your next item?
Yeah, I mean, I could have flipped that or 2017 with the Michigan football team. Either way, I felt like that one is a little bit less just because there was some more time that I felt like Michigan basketball could have overcome and just didn't. But it felt like that back-breaking play that just was like, we had worked so hard to get back into the game, and then it was just like, and now it's gone.
Dee, I know you remember that play. In fact, I think back then, I don't know if we were texting or not, but I know we talked about it at some point with you and your cousins.
Yeah, I mean that was the year where Michigan went through like the number 1, 2, 4, 5, and 8 best defenses in all of college football or college basketball. They beat Kansas in that wild finish with Trey Burke hitting the three at the buzzer, down 13 with down 16 with 3 minutes left or something like that. You know, they beat Syracuse with their zone. They beat Florida, who was the number 1 defensive team in the country at the time, and like ran them out. They were up like 24-2. Like it was an insane season. And then we came down to that game. And yeah, that block kind of felt like the big turning point. And it is, by definition, the cleanest block in the history of blocks. Like there was just, and every ref was looking at that one collision at the cup, and somehow they called the foul. And it's hilarious to hear the announcer go, well, it must have been with the body. And then you watch, it's like, no man has ever jumped more straight up than Trey Burke did in that moment and got nothing but ball than him. So yeah, that one sticks with me. And I'll tell you one more that sticks with me. 2003, number 1 Ohio State versus number 2 Michigan. There was a personal foul called on Prescott Burgess hitting. I don't remember who the quarterback was. It Troy Smith back then? I can't remember who it was for Ohio State, but it was number 1 versus number 2, both undefeated. They called a garbage personal foul late hit penalty that was not a late hit. Ended up giving Ohio State a field goal they ended up winning that by 3. And what compounds that was the only loss Michigan had was to number 1 Ohio State. And yet somehow Michigan got left out of the 4-team tourney. The very next year, Alabama and LSU played as number 1 and number 2, and one of them lost by more than 3 points, and they both got in. And their argument 1 year to the next completely changed on why Michigan should be left out and why the loser of that Alabama LSU game should get in. It's like that's where SEC bias really kind of like became just obvious to everybody. But that's another call that I wish could go another way. But that was a long time ago.
By the way, D, 2003, Ohio State's quarterback was the household name. Let's turn it into a little group challenge. Go ahead, Paul. What's your best guess?
Craig Krenzel is my guess.
That was the Krenzel year. That was, yeah. Was that the Miami year?
Yes. Yeah. And so after that, they beat Miami in the Fiesta Bowl, and so Krenzel
beat Miami.
That's what I was going to bring up. Of like, isn't that? I was going to ask at some point, like, what is the moment where the opposite is true, where it's like your team got the break of a bad call, right? And because I was actually thinking of Ohio State versus Miami, because it's like Miami runs onto the field like thinking that the game's over.
The pass interference call.
The pass interference call comes.
Wow, I forgot about that whole scene. You are absolutely right.
I had a really long quiet time that morning.
It worked.
Yeah. Isn't that the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial? Didn't you just hit the button and everything got extended? Okay, so it's fascinating to realize that these moments stick with us for as long as they do. I mean, everybody's example that we gave tonight was a decade or so, 8, 10 more years. In my case, 1987, with Isaiah throwing the pass that Bird steals. It's crazy how long those things become part of our story and just stick with us for so stinking long. I'm still angry about Hugh Hollins calling the phantom foul on Bill Laimbeer.
I was gonna ask if that one was coming up at some point.
Okay, serious question. Now that we have replay, is this happening less to fans?
Ask the Bills about the Brandon Cooks catch, not catch.
Well, yeah, that's
right. So let's talk about that, because would we prefer to have these snapshot moments in time emotionally impact us 2, 3, 4 decades later, or would we prefer that they have been correctly adjudicated when they happened? And if so, would we still remember them like we do, right? So we have
the problem with that assumption is that instant replay gets it right. That's the problem with your assumption.
Yeah, that's true.
Bill, sorry, you bringing that up just actually reminded me of the call one of the calls I loved reversed, and I don't know if you talked about it. Armando Galarraga, perfect game.
I was just gonna bring that up. I was trying to remember the wasn't it Jim Joyce?
Jim West. Yes. Or Jim Joyce. Yeah, Jim Joyce.
I was literally waiting to bring that up. That's so good.
But as Bill was talking, it just came into my head like that's one that I'd like. But not because it would win a Tigers team a championship, but because it's largely considered the worst call in like the history of sports. Like it was so bad.
let me give it to you. Here we go. For those of you who are not familiar with Tigers lore, this is the last out in a perfect game, Detroit versus Cleveland. Armando Galarraga on the mound for the Tigers.
Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe. He is safe. He is safe at first base.
Not even close.
And here comes Jim Leyland. Said he was safe at first base. You make the call. Cabrera, Galarraga.
Did he miss the base? He's out. Why is he safe?
He must have missed the base.
Are you kidding me? Why is he safe?
We'll see right here.
Why is he safe? Oh my goodness, Jim Joyce, no!
I mean, they're actually pleading for the umpire.
The base runner himself put his hands on his head, like looking back, like they just called me safe. Like what just happened?
After that game, Jim Joyce back in the umpire's room was bawling.
Yep.
Bawling. And then we were at the game the next day, and they made a big show out of Galarraga bringing the lineup card out to home plate as part of the exchange because Joyce was working home plate the next day. And he was crying, and Galarraga kind of gave him a hug, and the Tigers gave him a Corvette, gave Galarraga a Corvette. So I guess it worked out in the end. But again, Dee, it's exactly like you're talking about. The moment sticks with us, right? There was no replay in baseball then.
Yeah, my whole thing with replay has been, and I thought of this years ago, and I just figured it should be instituted, especially in football games. Replay should not be done at super slow motion. It should be done at regular speed. Because if you replay, you can replay it from any angle, whatever you want, but it is replayed at regular speed. Because if it's not obvious to the eye in regular speed, then we should just allow it to stay the way that it is. Like, to me, it's the breaking it down and did the ball jiggle and did it touch the ground a little bit? If it's clear and obvious, that means when you watch it again from multiple angles in regular speed, you will be able to tell what the result is. And I don't know, but as Paul said, it's like replay would be wonderful if we knew they were going to get it right, and it's just too many times where we see that they clearly don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at all the extra time we have to go get a beverage.
It's true.
It's just minutes upon minutes. All right, that's good stuff. And again, these indelible moments, these memories that kind of stick with us forever, even those that are bitter memories and bitter tastes. It's all part of that experience of immersing yourself into these games. So if the Lions ever do it, that'll flush out so many layers of memories. Good stuff. All right, let's move on to our holy discontent.
It's time to blow off some steam. Get it off your chest. Rant about what's most bothering you.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
It's time for Holy Discontent.
Paul, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, I think I have the holy discontent of all holy discontents that you guys can all chime in on. Marcus Freeman is joining College Game Day for the national championship game. He's the guest that is joining College Game Day. I'm wondering how you guys feel about that.
I mean, I don't watch any of the pregame stuff, so it doesn't really bother me, but it's nice of him to make an appearance in the playoffs or the bowl season or something like that. So that's my take.
Exactly.
My question would be why?
I'm kind of with Josh in that. Like, I stopped watching pregame stuff years ago because everything is just a commercial to get us to the actual game. So who's picking for College Game Day and whatever, like none of that stuff really matters to me. I appreciate the spectacle of it, and and what it's meant to be. But I mean, Nick Saban's been doing this for years, where he would just be on random ESPN shows, like as just a random co-host, and it was all to get exposure and to get looks and views and stuff from players. So it doesn't really bother me. I mean, if they had, Whittingham on there just because, like, hey, you're new, why don't we get you on here and get your voice out there? None of that would bother me for the most part. More power to him if he wants to go do it.
What do you think the odds are that anyone's going to ask him about sitting out the Pop-Tarts Bowl or whatever it was? You think anyone's going to ask him that question on national television?
I would if I was there, but I'm not there.
McAfee might. He might. It's hard to, it's hard to know, but I'm guessing there was some sort of agreement before he said he would come on. I guess my biggest question is, they've got a fairly accomplished coach on their panel. They could have chosen coaches from the final rounds of the playoffs and who lost and had them come in, especially those perhaps who lost to one of the teams involved in the final. So I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Honestly, I'd rather hold his feet to the fire and say, you really feel good about this whole, like, you automatically get in if you're ranked number 12. Like, you feel good about that? Yeah, you feel good. You're nice. You're a cool guy now.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So apparently Marcus will not be coming on Church Pew with us at any time soon.
Here's my holy discontent. The Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, they're ruining baseball. Kyle Tucker, 4 years, $240 million. They've already got Yamamoto. They like, you can't pitch to a guy on their team that in many other years would not be an MVP candidate. It's ridiculous. And the fact that oh boy. Okay, hang on. The fact that they're allowed to defer these payments until like 2048, they're paying Shohei Ohtani, like that so that they don't go so far against the luxury tax that it costs them absurd amounts of money. The problem with sports like that, like baseball, that have no salary cap, is the way you have governed it is by adding a luxury tax. So once you get over a certain amount of money, you have to pay so much extra money into the hopper to make up for the Miamis and these other teams that don't spend any money. But if you have an owner rich enough, they just stop caring about how much they have to pay in luxury tax. And that's what the Dodgers have. Their TV deal is absurd. It's different than anyone else's TV deal in the entire league. They make billions more than everybody else. Their owner doesn't care about paying luxury tax. They're allowed to defer money for many, many years. They get number one pick at every big free agent. I hate them. They're ruining baseball. I hate the Dodgers. It drives me nuts. When I saw they signed Kyle Tucker, I almost lost my mind because the Tigers are going to lose Tarek Skubal and didn't sign Bregman and didn't sign Bichette and aren't going to sign Eugenio Suarez, even though we need a third base bat, and the Dodgers will go sign all of them and not care about paying luxury tax. I hate the Dodgers.
That's a pretty good walk-off right there. And by the way,
drop the mic.
Just to add a little tag on the end of that, D, the Dodgers luxury tax is greater than the payroll of, I think, 19 or 20 Major League Baseball teams. They're paying that much in penalties because their salaries are so off the charts. That's pretty good stuff. My holy discontent is the Detroit Red Wings. And you're saying, well, why would that ever be? They're so good this year. They're actually, in first place, and they have some real promise to them. It's just that it took 30 years for them to finally retire the jersey of Sergei Fedorov in a very cool ceremony. It's really, really fun. He was very, it's just very composed and very sharp in his speech. I think that if it weren't for Steve Yzerman, it still wouldn't have happened, but it did happen. It shouldn't have taken that long, but because of petty jealousy, dislike between the Ilitch family and Sergei, and the whole thing kind of, it got dragged out in some petty bickering, and it didn't help that he left under some less than ideal circumstances. But at any rate, that's my holy discontent.
I will say though, he mentioned the greatest mistake of his career was leaving the Red Wings when he did.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Yeah,
well deserved.
Very well put together speech, and they're playing some very good hockey. So, Josh, if you have one, this is that time, and if not, we'll move on to our 3-minute message with Paul.
I do have one. Just took me a moment to channel, which is not hard once I had 2 seconds to think about it. It's the thing I harp on all the time. It's the state of college football. There's many things we could talk about. I'll try and limit it to 2. the fact that we have an open portal happening during the playoffs is just absolutely crazy. You know, Signetti and all the coaches or whatever, Lanning I saw last week, we're talking about how they're trying to prepare for the game, and then they're going and having to try and get new kids on campus and recruit them. This is ridiculous. Also, it drives me nuts that you are the one who has owned Saturdays my entire life, and then we move the championship to a Monday night. And as someone who lives in the Eastern time zone, it happens late. So my boys aren't going to be able to watch it. They're going to have to go to bed before they can even watch. So this thing that we basically watch all year long, we then don't get to participate in. I don't know why you don't speed up. And others have talked about this, but you truncate the season. I love the proposal. I think I heard it from Klatt first. I don't know. But where the championship game should just be played at the Rose Bowl every year. And that's where the championship happens. And do it on January 1st, or I don't care that next week after, if the semis are on the 1st or whatever, and then that next Saturday, but own Saturday, take it back. It's what you've built your whole season on, and just bring some leadership and organization to this, please. Because the thing that I love to watch is being ruined by all of these people who are just trying to make a quick buck over and over again. And I fear it's all going to fall apart at some point.
You're not wrong. It is falling apart, that's for sure. Maybe our next episode should be how we would fix it, because I guess everybody has little pieces here and there that make a lot of sense. I keep hearing a lot of suggestions coming from various corners, but because there is no commissioner, there is nobody in charge, they haven't yet discovered David Collins and his resume, then there's no commissioner coming. So David, next episode, we're going to dub you commissioner and let you have kind of a state of the game speech if you're up for that.
I feel like I've fixed college football like 7 different times on this podcast.
You have.
We can do it again.
Yeah.
It's just not taking. It's not sticking. It's not taking.
It's not taking, yeah.
All right, let's close things out with our 3-minute message.
Homer, I'd like you to remember Matthew 7:26. The foolish man who built his house on sand.
And you remember Matthew 21:17.
And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there?
Yeah. Think about it.
Paul Miller, take it away.
Okay, so this has been a really fun conversation tonight, talking about some of the things that are broken and some of the trends that are concerning to us in the world of college football. Like, I'm thinking about Carson Beck's interview where someone asked him if he was having trouble studying for finals. And he said, I graduated 2 years ago. Like, he's in CJ Stroud's graduating class. Think about that.
Crazy.
The trend towards college football teams pursuing older players. Like, I did a little bit of research, right? Like, the average age of an NCAA football player this past year was 20.5. But when Michigan won the Natty a couple of years ago, the average age of their roster was 22.5. When Ohio State won last year, 22.6. Indiana this year, for an example, reference point, is 23.0 is their average age. So coaches and GMs are figuring out that you're better off having someone that's been around for a while and has grown into their potential. And it got me thinking about a verse in Proverbs, which I can relate to now. Proverbs 20:29 says, the glory of the young is their strength. The gray hair of experience is the splendor of the old.
Nice.
So if you're wondering what the challenge is or what's the application of this conversation, it would be this. All of us need to have a mentor, someone who's older, who's wiser, who's been where we want to go and can show us the path to get there. That's an invaluable relationship. I have a guy named Steve Hudson, who is my mentor. Steve is, I think, 15, 20 years older than me. And he, back in the day, sat in the seat that I sit in now for the Evangelical Free Church of America. And so it's just so valuable to me to be able to talk to him when my job gets sideways, when my marriage gets sideways, when things are confusing for me. I love that relationship. And so I'm challenging all of us to think about, who is that person that if you brought them on your team, if you asked them to mentor you, if you ask them to walk with you and show you the way towards whatever it is that Jesus has for you, who's that person going to be for you? If you don't have that relationship, I'd encourage you to pray and keep your eyes open. And if somebody emerges as a potential, ask them. Ask them if they would mentor you. Don't be afraid to do that because it's worth it. The glory of the young is their strength, but the gray hair of experience is the splendor of the old.
You know, as you're sharing those thoughts, Paul, I'm remembering a conversation I had with Nancy Lopez, the Hall of Fame lady golfer, last summer or the summer before, I can't remember which. And I asked her, how often are you approached by these young ladies who are in their teens and just getting started in the LPGA Tour? Because from travel advice to managing pressure of competition and all those things, how often are you approached? She said, never. They just look at me as the old lady that's hanging around.
Yeah.
And I just thought, just in line with what you just said, I thought, man, what a waste of a resource. And too often we can fall into that trap as well by not seeking out the experience of those who have earned it over all these years. So good stuff. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you to Pastor Josh Pardee and to David Collins for being part of our fun tonight on Church Pew Sports. I say tonight because that's when we'll look forward to connecting with you all again next time as we solve the college sports dilemma on our next episode. Please make sure you check us out at churchpewsports.com and follow us on Facebook and X. We'll talk to you next time with another episode of Church Pew Sports.